like to welcome you to yet another episode of the Unpopular Podcast. This is the man, the myth, the legend, Jalen Hunter. And if you would do me a favor, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, so anything would definitely help. I appreciate you guys. But today we're going to start off this episode with a story. For people that don't know, I went to Voorhees College, which is actually now Voorhees University, so shouts out to them. That's the HBCU in Denmark, South Carolina. And I played college basketball. I played for 3 years, redshirted 1 year, played 2 years. So 3 years I played basketball. And it's easy. You can quickly Google it. But did you know that the basketball team, or let's say athletics at Voorhees College makes up nearly 70% of the entire, and I mean the entire school's revenue? That's 70%, nearly 70% of the entire school's revenue is generated by their sports teams. And the number one sports team is basketball, because they don't have a football team. It is a HBCU. Shouts out to them. Shouts out to the NAIA. But yeah, it is nearly 70% of the school's revenue comes from athletics. Like I said, I played 3 years. I played basketball. Loved every minute of it. You know, shouts out to my teammates. Shouts out to Coach Mitchell, who's no longer there. But shouts out to him. We used to do two-a-days. We used to have practice at 5 o'clock in the morning and practice at 4. That doesn't include individuals. With people that don't know, you'd go individually and work on your craft one-on-one with a coach. That doesn't include study hall. That doesn't include treatment. That doesn't include any of that. We'd have 2 practices a day, 2 official full team practices, 5 o'clock in the morning and 4 o'clock in the afternoon, or in the evening, whatever you want to call it. The thing about HBCUs, I don't know about all HBCUs, the thing about Voorhees College is they didn't have enough money to keep the CAF open 24 hours a day or the library open 24 hours a day. Meaning the CAF would open up at 7 o'clock in the morning, and they would then like close to get ready for lunch, and then have to close again to get ready for dinner. And dinner ended at 8 o'clock, I believe. Then the CAF would be closed. Another thing people don't understand is Denmark is hella rural. Like all they have there is a Piggly Wiggly. I don't know how it is today, but all they have is a Piggly Wiggly, a Hardee's, and a McDonald's, and a gas station. You have to travel like 45 minutes to get to the first Walmart, which is in Orangeburg, South Carolina, and you have to travel 30 minutes to get to the first 24-hour gas station. So that should let you know that it's rural as hell. There were many of nights where we'd have practice and we wouldn't get out of practice until 7:30, 7:45. And because, we had to then get ready, we had to shower, blah, blah, blah. There were many times we missed CAF. And if you miss CAF, if you ain't got no food in your dorm, you ain't got no food in your room, you're done. And you ain't got no car, you're done. And there were many nights where I didn't have food. I did not have, I didn't have a car. I wasn't fortunate enough to have a car. And I lived on the dorm because I was too broke to, live off campus. And there was many nights I went to sleep hungry. Remember what I said. I said that the athletic program at Voorhees College, whether it's basketball, whether it's track and field, whether it's baseball, the athletic program at Voorhees College makes up 70%, nearly 70% of the entire school's revenue. Yet and still, me as an athlete, if I missed calf, I was going to sleep hungry. And that is where we'll start today. The NCAA, I think the Supreme Court ruled against the NCAA to allow students to get educational benefits. Like you can get computers, you can get scholarships or incentives, whatever it is, off the likeness of their name. One thing I didn't say in that story is while the athletic program made up 70% of my entire school's revenue, which is Voorhees College. Jimmy, who went there as a biology major, was able to work and still go to school and still get the same benefits that I got outside of course, a basketball scholarship because he didn't play. So how is it that Jimmy, who is a biology major, is able to go work and still go to school and make a living for himself, yet Jalen, who plays basketball, who makes more money for the school than Jimmy does, is unable to make any type of money outside of stipends that we get on road trips. Shouts out to the Supreme Court for ruling against the NCAA. I think it was like a unanimous 9-0 vote or something like that. And this definitely will help. There are a lot of student athletes. A lot of student athletes come from situations where they can't afford a lot. So a lot of them don't have computers. A lot of them can't really afford books. A lot of them need the extra support. But this is just a minute step in a bigger journey. Zion Williamson generated so much money for Duke. Yet and still, under the guidelines and ramifications of the NCAA, he was unable to make no money. Zion brought, I know y'all remember the game where he blew out of his PGs, man. Zion brought the president, Obama, to the game. This doesn't include TV deals. This doesn't include sponsorships, clothing sponsorships, food sponsorships, travel sponsorships. These athletes make how much money do you think athletes make for Alabama? Nick Saban is, I think the stat came out that he is the richest paid employee in Alabama. Shouts out to Nick Saban. I'm not counting nobody's money. I'm counting the people that ain't got money. But it's like the NCAA will continue to say that it's an unfair advantage for students to get paid and other students to not. Yet and still, if you go back to my Voorhees story, me being on the basketball team, I made more money for the school than Jimmy did. But Jimmy can go to work and still go to school. You know what? You want to hear what my schedule was? Wake up at 4:30, get to the gym by 5. Practice ends at 7:30. No, practice ends at 7:30 if you didn't have class. If you had class, go. If you didn't have class, go. Practice ends like 7:30, 7:45. Then run to the caf, get some breakfast, go. Had to shower. Then I had to go to my first class at 8 o'clock. I was most definitely late most of the time. After that, go from my 8 o'clock class. 8 o'clock class ended around 10. Go either A, no. Then I would go to the gym for my individuals. My individuals at 10:30. From 10:30 till around 11:30 or 11:45, I will then go take another shower, go to calf. Go to calf, get to calf by the 12. 12, I will go to calf, eat. Then I will go to my 1 o'clock. After my 1 o'clock, my 1 o'clock ends at around 2. I will go back to the gym for another individuals. I needed extra practice. I will go to the gym at 1 o'clock. My individuals will be from from 2:30 till about let's say 3:30. Then I would wait 30 minutes for actual official practice to start. That practice went from 4 o'clock till I'll say 7:30, 7:45, depending on if we were doing what the coach said. At that point, you had to either sprint to the calf, sweaty and all, or go to the calf. Calf's usually closed. Cool. You had study hall. Study hall was at night. However, the library closed at 9 o'clock every day on the weekdays. Weekends, I think it closed at like 7. Meaning that we have to do study hall either by ourselves in the gym, or it was no study hall. Then I'm over here trying to figure out, I'm trying to link with a friend, link with a teammate. Yo, you going to McDonald's, you going to Piggly Wiggly, you going to let me ride with you. Did that. I didn't get back to my room till probably, I'll say 10. No. I'll say, 9 to, I'll say about 10 o'clock at night. I still had to do homework. All for it to just recycle the next day. Yet and still, I dedicate myself to the basketball as well as being a student athlete, but I couldn't make money. But Jimmy could. And this is no disrespect or no offense to any student there, that even if you don't play sport, whatever, this is no disrespect to any student, but people don't understand. People just see, these athletes are bigger and stronger and they get scholarships and this, that, and the third. Yeah, but they also, scholarships just get you there and pay for you to be there. It doesn't pay for your food. It doesn't pay for, how the hell are you going to buy cleaning supplies? Like, scholarship just gets you there. And don't get me wrong, I did get a partial scholarship for playing basketball, so I appreciate that. But what I'm saying is, yes, the ruling that the Supreme Court did with the NCAA, it helps. Like I said, it helps people get computers. It helps people to get some incentives. It helps people to, start making some type of educational foot in the door. But it doesn't negate the fact that these students still need money. And these athletes, whether it's basketball, whether it's football, whether it's track and field, these students make so much money for the organization. How much money you think the track team, and we'll talk about them a little later, the track team at North Carolina A&T, how much money you think they make the school for now making it to the Olympics? And how much money you think they're seeing? It's it's a small foot in a longer journey, but hey, hopefully things change, because like I said, there should be no reason why an athlete athlete schedules are crazy. And the thing is, I went to NAIA school, and HBCU NAIA. That's one step below NCAA as far as, I guess, talent level or whatever it is. Recruit, I don't know. That's one step below NCAA. I can imagine an athlete schedule for the NCAA. So, man, pay the players. People ask me why I'm so adamant in why I believe players and athletes should be paid. Because I was one. I was one that dedicated myself to the craft of basketball, and still at night didn't know where the hell I was going to eat, or how I was going to eat, or had to eat like crap because I can only afford McDonald's, or go to Piggly Wiggly, or steal bread out the calf and only can afford peanut butter and jelly from the Piggly Wiggly. So I would take bread from calf and use that and eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I was that player that put so much into the craft of basketball and put so much money in Voorhees College's pocket. And I was over here saying, "Yo, I don't know how I'm gonna eat, bro. I miss calf." So let's move forward. Let's move over to the NBA. First and foremost, so we're in the conference finals now. I'm gonna give my conference finals predictions in a minute, but let's start with Atlanta in the Philly series. So Atlanta beats Philly in 7 games, and it's funny. They've been talking about, you know, this playoffs doesn't have LeBron anymore, doesn't have AD. We'll talk about KD in a second. Doesn't have Curry, doesn't have Dame, but this has been a very good series, a very good playoffs, man. Shouts out to Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks, bro. Trae Young is one of those people. He is starting to grow right before our eyes, man. Trae Young is having a playoffs. While he did have a horrible shooting game in Game 7, what Trae Young is doing is he's dictating the pace better than anybody that he's played yet is doing. Yes, Trae Young can have a horrible shooting game, which he did in Game 7. I think he went like 3 for like 20 or something. But his ability to control the pace of the game, his ability to get his teammates involved, with assists, how Kevin Huerter was playing. Like, the Atlanta Hawks is a really good team, a young, promising team, and I think that this is a good step for Atlanta. Do I think that they can build on this? Now, of course, they're still playing, but do I think that they can build on this for years to come? Of course. I mean, it's funny. I was one of the people that I didn't think that Atlanta should have given up Luka. And as we're seeing, Luka is better than Trae Young. Don't get me wrong. But Trae Young has been great for Atlanta. Trae Young, he's matured right before our eyes. Before, Trae Young would just jack up long ass threes and pray they make it. His game was hella rushed. Now you see that a lot from rookies, but his game was hella rushed, and he didn't really have a sense of how fast he was going compared to how fast he needed to go. Sometimes he was going fast. Most of the times he was going faster than he needed to go, which caused a lot of turnovers. But Trae Young is the main reason, is the biggest reason why the Atlanta is in the conference finals right now. Also, shouts out to Nate McMillan, man. Nate McMillan has been tossed aside so many times as a head coach, and the fact that he gets a young core like Atlanta, a lot of these players are able to be molded, and a lot of these players believe and listen to him. Like I said, you have Kevin Huerter playing the best basketball he's played ever. You have John Collins emerging. You have Lou Williams, who's a good veteran. You have Gallinari, who's a good veteran. You have Clint Capella, who's playing good. You have Bogdanovich, who's playing good. So this is a really good team, and I'm shocked at they beat Philly because Philly was number 1 overall seed, and we'll talk about that in just a second. I'm surprised at that, but I'm not surprised that they made it as far as they did. Do I think that looking at the road, I could see them beating a Knicks team, and I didn't think they were going to beat Philly, but that after they did and after seeing Philly, it makes sense. So shouts out to Atlanta, man. Shouts out to Atlanta for making the first conference final since 2015. And I think that team had Jeff Green, Joe Johnson, Kyle Korver, Al Horford. That year that like all of them went to the All-Star game. So shouts out to them, man. But then we'll move on to the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, I talked about this last episode that I called Philadelphia the Corvette in the wintertime. Still a beautiful car. A beautiful, beautiful, luxurious car in the summer, i.e. the regular season. But once you get to the playoffs, it just doesn't hold value like it should. Well, not like it should, like it does in the summer. And we saw that, man. We saw even the team that was relatively healthy. Yeah, you didn't have Danny Green, but you were relatively healthy, and you still made bad mistakes, poor turnovers, bad shooting games, poor fouls. I'm looking at you, Dwight Howard. Every time Dwight Howard got into the game, he would rack up 2 quick fouls, man. Doc Rivers, he's lost, 9 game 7s, I believe. And I don't like bashing black coaches because we know how scarce that is. But a lot of people, Doc Rivers was saying that the Clippers, Doc Rivers has been on the other side of some horrible comebacks, man. Remember when the Clippers against the Rockets, when Josh Smith and Jason Terry went crazy with James Harden on the bench. We remember the Clippers in the bubble up 3-1 and losing the next 3 games while being up double digits in all 3 of those games. And of course, Philadelphia, man, you are up 18 points. You lose that game. You come back the next game up 26 points, and you lose that game. It's funny. I didn't want to say it because I like to champion my black coaches. But there's something that has to be said, that many people consider Doc Rivers a great coach. Many people consider Doc Rivers one of the best coaches we've had in the league. And I always balk at that because it's like, and again, this isn't me bashing black people because I love my black people. But this kind of goes back to, we really value championships differently than anything else. We really value that 2008 championship with the Boston Celtics when KG was probably just getting out of his prime. Ray Allen was just getting out of his prime, but still great players. Paul Pierce was there. You had a complete team. And that's the only championship Doc Rivers, I think, has been to as a head coach. No, I'm sorry. He went the next year, and no, he didn't. He lost to the Orlando Magic. So now he did go to the championship. That's a lie. He did go to the championship, and they lost to Kobe. They lost to Kobe when they lost in 8 games. I think that was 2011, I believe, or 2010. 2010. There's something that has to be said when you have players. You have an MVP caliber player in Joel Embiid, but like I said last episode, Joel Embiid, one of the biggest reasons why he didn't win MVP, and one of the biggest reasons why a lot of people still have question marks about Joel Embiid, is because of his health. You have Ben Simmons, who we'll talk about in a second. You have all NBA players, all defensive players, and you still lose to a team. And don't get me wrong, shouts out to Atlanta, but Atlanta should not have been able to match up with the Philadelphia 76ers. A lot of people, including myself, thought that Philadelphia was good enough, especially with AD and LeBron being out, especially with the Brooklyn Nets having to go against the Milwaukee Bucks second round. A lot of people thought the Philadelphia 76ers was good enough to make it all the way. This is the year, Nick Wright said it, man. This is the year you really didn't have to go against a superstar outside of the Bucks. And you blew that. This is why I don't know if they'll ever win a championship with this core. And this is where we'll get to Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is an incredible player. I know a lot of people are bashing him right now, but Ben Simmons is an incredible player. However, Ben Simmons is always going to be a limited player and always going to be a liability if he does not and cannot improve his shot. Now, a lot of people say, you know what, it's cool. Just give him a summer. Just give him a summer. He saw how bad he was. He saw how bad. He's the biggest reason why the Philadelphia 76ers didn't win this series. We know the infamous play in Game 7 when he had a wide open dunk and he passed it to Matisse Thybulle, and Matisse Thybulle got fouled and only hit one free throw because he passed it to a person that also isn't a good shooter, but he's not scared to shoot. People keep saying all Ben Simmons has to do is take a summer and he get his jump shot right. Here's the problem with that. This year was his third or fourth year, and he still hasn't improved. How is it that you've had this same problem since college, and you have yet to improve? So what makes people think that Ben Simmons is going to now say, "Oh man, this was bad. Now I'm gonna get in the gym and work"? It's a mindset thing, bro. I'm not saying Ben Simmons can't shoot. I'm saying I don't know if he can shoot because he doesn't even attempt it because he has no confidence in his shot. Ben Simmons, look, I think Ben Simmons' days are over in Philly because he's a guard pretty much. He's a 6'10" guard. Your guard who dominates the ball cannot be the same person who can't shoot, especially in today's NBA, especially when you're going up against a Trae Young, you're going up against people like Donovan Mitchell, people like Steph Curry, people like Damian Lillard. Hell, he can't shoot, but people like Russell Westbrook. You can't go up against these type of guards and dominate the ball because you're the guard and can't shoot. And because of that, Philadelphia has so much money tied into these, which now Philadelphia has to be kicking themselves in the foot right now. Because I don't know if you remember, but there was a Philadelphia James Harden trade on the market, and Philadelphia turned it down. Philadelphia could have had James Harden. Instead, they wanted to keep Ben Simmons. And the irony of all that is, now you're about to trade Ben Simmons for what? A CJ McCollum, for maybe an Andrew Wiggins. Like, it's bad, man. I'm not saying Ben Simmons is a horrible player because he's not. Ben Simmons has so many good traits. You know, he's great at getting to the rim. He's a good facilitator. But Ben Simmons, if he does not work on the jump shot, which he hasn't, that's the thing. I'm gonna stop saying if he does because I don't think he cares enough. I don't think he knows. I don't know. I don't think he will. So Ben Simmons is going to be who Ben Simmons is. I believe Ben Simmons is peaked. Yes, I understand he's 24. I understand all that, but Ben Simmons has not improved, not a lick, since his rookie year. So there's nothing in me that thinks Ben Simmons is going to take that leap. You know what I mean? So, like I said, I think that Ben Simmons' days are pretty much numbered and done in Philly. So where are some good destinations for Ben Simmons? First and foremost, you have to look at the team. You have to figure out, you have to know what your team has to have Ben Simmons. As we've just seen, yes, Ben Simmons is an exceptional a player. However, Ben Simmons cannot be your dominant ball handler because he can't shoot. So you're going to have a team that has either a ball handler or an exceptional shooter that can create their own shot. The problem with Philly is you had Seth Curry, who was a really good player, but he's not the best at creating his own. He's not Steph Curry. And Philly had he had Court Maz and he had Seth Curry, he had Danny Green. All these players are good catch and shoot players, but none of them are really players that can put the ball on the ground and go get their own shot. So Ben Simmons needs to go to a place where he does not have to dominate the ball. He needs to go to a place where they need him defensively. He has to go to a place where he's not asked to be the number 1 or 2 option, because as we've seen, that is not working for him. So where's a couple good places for Ben Simmons? I think that he would do really well in Portland. Ben Simmons alongside, I think Ben Simmons would most definitely help Portland's biggest problem that they've had since freaking Clyde the Glide Drexler. I think that he'll help defensively. I think that while Damian Lillard is the primary scorer, I think Ben Simmons would definitely play good in that forward position. I think Ben Simmons would be really good in Golden State. I think he'd be perfect in Golden State. You pair him up. Now, do I think that? Now, I heard that you probably have to give up Draymond Green. I don't think I'd do that. Yes, he's pretty much a younger version of Draymond Green as far as what he can do on the court, but he's not the vocal leader and the fiery leader that is Draymond Green, and that is a huge intangible for Golden State. I mean, while you still have Steph, he's not really the vocal leader. Neither is Clay. And I think you pair Ben Simmons with Draymond Green, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and then you have James Wiseman there still. You still have Andrew Wiggins. You might have to give up one of those, but that would be an incredible team. Look at Washington. Washington needs a forward that can defend. And you get him along. Now it would be another person that can't shoot, a la Russell Westbrook, but that would be a really crazy pairing. The thing is, it's hard to determine where Ben Simmons could go, because he's always going to be a liability at shooting, because I don't think he's going to improve his shooting. So shouts out to Atlanta, and we just have to wait. If Philly keeps Ben Simmons, I think that would be a mistake. I think it would be a mistake, because I think when you lose a playoff game like you lose, and I think in the entire series against Atlanta, in the entire series, all 7 games, he only took 3 shots in the fourth quarters of all games. Not 3 shots each game. Total 3 shots. And this is a person that dominates the ball because he's your guard. And that to me, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work, man. But let's move forward, man. Shouts out to the Clippers, who finally make it the first time they've made it to the conference finals. But they beat Utah. Now, this with Kawhi Leonard being out and no timable return of when he's coming back, if he does come back, a lot of people like Skip Bayless saying his sources are pretty much saying he's not coming back. The playoffs expose what you're weakest at. And not only does it expose your weakness and where you're weakest at, teams exploit that weakness. Utah for the longest. Utah was the number 1 seed. A lot of people thought that they could win it all. They had a complete team, which is true. But Utah being in a playoff series exposes your weakness, and teams will exploit that. Yes, Utah was an incredible team in the regular season. Like I said, they were the number 1 overall seed. Like, they were incredible. Donovan Mitchell was great. Rudy Gobert won the Defensive Player of the Year for the third time. They were a great team. But a lot of people get blinded a lot by wins. And because you're winning, a lot of things, you're able to let a lot of things slide, a lot of things go because, you're winning. Like, what's the point of it? You're winning. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, pretty much. But even in those losses, or even in all the wins and the record that Utah had two biggest problems. Their two biggest problems is they only had two players that can put the ball on the ground and go get their own bucket, which was Donovan Mitchell and the sixth man of the year in Jordan Clarkson. Only two players that can put the ball on the ground and go get them a bucket. One of them was hampered with an injury. And the second thing is they could not guard wings. They had Joe Ingles had a tough time guarding wings. Bogdanovich had a tough time guarding wings. Royce O'Neal had George Niang. They had a tough time guarding. They couldn't guard wings. So when you're going to a series with two wings that on their best day are could arguably top 10, definitely one. But when you're going up against a series with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, yeah, man, it's tough. And that's why a lot of people said that the Clippers could win this series. Now, when Kawhi Leonard went down, a lot of people were saying, "Oh man, it's over for the Clippers." Even though, and I was saying, it's a little bleak for the Clippers, and that wasn't because they still didn't have enough pieces to win. That was because now you had to rely on Paul George, and as we've seen, Paul George can either go one or two ways. He can go the Paul George that was in OKC where the team needed him and he only scored 3 points the last game, or he can go the Indiana route and was just destroying people. We got the Indiana Paul George, but even with Paul George playing well, Utah still should have had a chance, right? No. You had the Terrence Mann game. and Terrence Mann, who was a wing, was killing the team, killing Utah. A lot of people ask, was Kawhi Leonard holding back Paul George? Because Paul George has played incredible since Kawhi Leonard's been gone. And I say no. I say Paul George can be a one, but I don't know if he can be a one for a championship team. He can definitely be a two for a championship team. I think that, like I said, Utah's biggest problem was the Clippers' biggest strength. When the Clippers had a couple people that can put the ball on the ground. You had Paul George, you had Kawhi Leonard before he got hurt. You had Reggie Jackson. You have Rondo, who's a great facilitator. You have Marcus Morris. They have players that can put the ball on the ground and go get them a bucket. Utah only has two. And when you have a 3-time defensive player of the year who is it feels like his powers just get evaporated once he gets out the paint. It's a tough one, man. It's a tough one. But shouts out to the Clippers for making it to the conference finals for their first time. Yeah, man. It's a thing. It's a big thing. And shouts out to Terrence Mann having a game of his life, 39 points. I think he's probably reached his career high. That was his career high in both college and that was the best game he's ever played. So, shouts out to them, man. And I don't think Utah's one of those teams, man. If you didn't win this year, it's kind of like Philly, bro. If you didn't win this year, it's hard for me to to imagine you winning anytime soon. Yeah, you have a good team. You have Donovan, you have Jordan Clarkson, Ingles, Rudy Gobert, but this year should have been the year, seeing as though look at the players that's not here that you don't have to worry about. Let's just stick to the East. You don't have to worry about LeBron and AD. You didn't have to worry about Kawhi the last 2 games. You didn't have to worry about Steph Curry. You didn't have to worry about Damian Lillard. You didn't have to worry about Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic because you didn't have to see them. Like, it's just this would have been the year. This should have been the year because I don't see it getting much easier than that. Hell, you didn't have to go against Clay. Like, I don't know. It's kind of if you didn't win this year, if you're Utah or Philly, I just don't foresee how you'll win it in the future because teams are gonna get better. So. Yeah, man. Yeah, let's move forward. First of all, shouts out to the Brooklyn Nets and Bucks series, man. That was an incredible series. Even with Kyrie being out, that was an incredible series, man. And shouts out to the Bucks for beating the Nets in 7 games. Even with KD going crazy, dropping 48 the last game, and it was an inch away from sending the Bucks home. But the question now is, was the Brooklyn Nets season a failure? Now, of course, you compiled Kyrie Irving, KD, James Harden, Blake Griffin. You had LaMarcus Aldridge before he retired. DeAndre Jordan, Joe Harris. Like you compile all these players to pretty much win the championship. Now, here's the problem with a super team. Here's the problem with compiling a team full of 3 stars. Something is going to have to take a hit. And that something was the bench and defense. They couldn't afford anybody that could play defense, and their bench was god awful. Landry Shamet was pretty much their best bench player. So, and like I said, the question is, was this season a failure? And this season, ultimately, every team. Let me say this: every team. The beginning of the season strives to win a championship. Only a few teams can, and Brooklyn was one of them. So in that sense, they didn't win a championship. So yeah, it technically was a failure, but this season presented so much wins for them. KD looks like he can, and we'll talk about this later. He looks like he can arguably be the best player in the world. This is 2 years after an Achilles rupture, which is the worst basketball injury that you can have. The absolute worst. There's only been one other player to come back even good, and that was Dominique Wilkins. So KD comes back incredible. You get James Harden. You have Kyrie. And I believe the only reason why they lost this series is because Kyrie went down. Now, you say, okay, Kyrie went down. You still have James Harden. You still have KD. Here's the problem. You bank on all 3 of them being there. The bench is not good enough for all 3 of them not to be there in the playoffs. The team's defense is not good enough for them all 3 not to be there, and the people that you needed to step up did not step up. James Harden was still hampered from a hamstring injury. While he did come back the last 3 games, he looked incredibly bad those 3 games. And Joe Harris. Joe Harris, man. Joe Harris played god awful. And when you need someone to step up, and when James Harden can't step up, KD had 156 points in 3 games because they needed to. So it's like, with Kyrie being out, while yes, KD to me is the most important player on that team, that the team is not built for one of those stars to be out in the playoffs because they don't have anyone that can pick up the slack coming off the bench. They don't have that. So that's why that's look, and also we have to really talk about some of the coaching decisions from Steve Nash. You had a timeout the last play of the game and didn't use it in overtime. KD was gassed. Everybody was gassed. You should have used the timeout to at least get them some type of fresh legs. I don't know. I think that Brooklyn, if they all come back healthy, they have the offensive talent to win. But the thing is, because you're paying your money is so tied up to three players, they're going to struggle next year what they struggle with this year. That was their bench is not going to be good. Not to mention there's going to be some players. I don't know if Blake Griffin's going to stay. There's going to be some players that are going to leave. Then you're not going to – I don't know if you're going to be able to – you're going to have to search in the veterans bargains bin. And though you're going to have to get like a Nicholas Batum or like a Corey Brewer or something like that. And I don't think those pieces at their – I don't think those pieces are good enough to win you a championship as far as defensively. They're just past their prime. So – I think it's a failure as far as the Brooklyn Nets. They built this team to win a championship, and they didn't win a championship. Now, again, a lot went into that, which their bench was god-awful. Players that needed to step up didn't. Kyrie got hurt. Steve Nash has some questionable coaching decisions. James Harden was injured. So, but and a lot of people are trying to say, like, trying to come at KD saying, this is what LeBron James had to deal with, this, that, and the third, which I hate that argument. I hate that argument because these are the same people that say, well, look what LeBron James had to deal with. So you understand that it's tough. You understand that, you need help and you need healthy help. Like, you understand that. And those same people will bash KD for what they just said. You have to understand with LeBron. It doesn't make sense to me. But shouts out to the Milwaukee Bucks for making it to the conference finals. And that's where we'll get to the conference finals. Now you have the Bucks and the Hawks in the conference finals, and you have the Suns and the Clippers. Let's start with the Suns and the Clippers because their game started, or their series started. Right now, as I'm recording now, the game 2 of the Suns Clippers series will be tonight. I think Kawhi Leonard not being there is huge for the Clippers. I think it's huge for the Clippers because one thing that we saw with Game 1 is the Suns can attack you in waves. Devin Booker can go crazy. DeAndre Ayton can go crazy. They're a really good 3-point shooting team with Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson and Cameron Payne. Like, they're a really good shooting team. And they're a young, complete team. I said this before. They're probably the most complete team as far as youth. I thought the Utah Jazz was probably the most complete team overall with Mike Conley healthy. But I think that the most, like, when we talk about youth and everything, the most complete team in that aspect is the Phoenix Suns. And I think Kawhi Leonard not being there definitely hurts the Clippers more this series than it does against Utah. And with right now, I think the Suns have won 8 straight 8 straight playoff games. which is a franchise, or 9 straight, which is a franchise record. I think that you're catching the Suns at the worst time now with with Chris Paul not being there right now due to COVID protocol. That I think this game, or game 2, is the most important game for the Clippers. If the Clippers go down 2, I understand that they went down 2-0 against the Dallas and against Utah. But I just don't think this team without Kawhi Leonard, I can't think you can expect them to come back from a 2-0 series deficit without your best player. Not to mention, if you go down 2-0 and they don't have Chris Paul, their best player is coming back in the series sometime. Kawhi Leonard's still up in the air. So I'm going to say Suns win this series in, I'm going to say six games. I think Suns win this series in 6 games, meaning the Suns will make it to their first NBA final. No, not their first. But the Suns will make it to the NBA Finals, in my opinion. On the East, I don't think this is a close series, in my opinion, at all. I think that while, the Hawks, now I know people say, don't count out the Hawks. Look what they did to Philly. Yeah. The Bucks is not Philly. Ben Simmons is not Giannis. I think that the Bucks is too much for the Hawks. I think they're better defensively than Philly, even though I know Philly has all the defensive players. They're better than Philly defensively. They're better than Philly offensively. They're better. Like they can scheme better than Philly. The Bucks have a player that, even though he can't shoot, he ain't scared to shoot, and he can dictate the tempo, and that's Giannis. Jrue Holiday cannot be as bad as he was against the Brooklyn Nets. Like, if he can't be no worse, so he has to be better. I just think the Bucks are a different level than Philly. They're a different level than the Knicks, and I don't think the Hawks can. I mean, even though Trae Young did have a really good series against Philly, the size and the defense that Ben Simmons presented against Trae Young kind of hampered him the last 2 games. The last 2 games, he didn't have the greatest of games. Oh, that's a lie. The last 2 games, he didn't have the greatest games. And you can throw Pat Connaughton. You can throw what's his name? You can throw Jrue Holiday. You can throw a lot of people at him. Plus, you have PJ Tucker. So I just think that it's going to be the Bucks and Suns in the finals, in the NBA Finals. I have the Bucks winning this series, and honestly, I think they're going to win this series in 5 games. I got Bucks in 5 and Suns in 6. So it'll be the Bucks and Suns in the NBA Finals. And with that, a question has been presented. Now, we had to just slide LeBron James topic in here. It's kind of like what they usually do in all the sports outlet shows. You can't go without no LeBron topic. The question is, what we've seen this year, what we've seen throughout the playoffs, is LeBron James the best player in the world anymore? Now, a lot of people hear that, and a lot of people get offended because I think they think that you're bashing LeBron for thinking he may or may not be the best player in the world at this point. I say this. You look at the landscape of the league, and it's hard for me. I understand that LeBron James was a front runner for the MVP before he got hurt. But it's hard for me to look at the league right now and still say LeBron James is the best player. Do I think LeBron James is still a great player? Of course. Do I think LeBron James is still a top player in this league? Of course. Do I think LeBron James is arguably one of the greatest players ever? Of course. But today, it's hard for me to look at what I saw Steph Curry do this year, what I saw KD do in the playoffs, what I seen Giannis continuously do, what I saw Jokic do, what I saw Joel Embiid do, what I saw Anthony Davis do last year in the bubble. It's hard for me to look around the league and say that LeBron James is the best player. Now, a lot of that is due to, Father Time is caught up, but not as abrupt as some people. But LeBron James is not the LeBron James of old. Now, I'm not saying he's garbage, but LeBron James is not the LeBron James we expect to, just high fly dunking everybody. That's just not what we're getting. Yeah, he might do it from time to time, but no. Not to mention, he's a step slower. I'm not saying he's garbage, but he's a step slower. And again, what we're watching out of Steph, what we're watching out of KD, when healthy, what we're watching out of James Harden, it's just no. I do not think LeBron James is the best player in the world. I think that, again, he alongside Anthony Davis can still win the Lakers a championship next year. Of course, they'll need to. That's the thing. That's the thing right there. Before, LeBron James could be paired with somebody, for instance, let's say the Heat. LeBron James can be paired with Chris Bosh and D Wade, and it's pretty much a foregone conclusion that they'll win. LeBron James can win with Kyrie and Kevin Love. These days, yeah, you have Anthony Davis, but you need more around him at this point. I'm not saying that they only won with 3 people, and the supporting cast definitely helped, but LeBron James is more dependent. That's it. LeBron James is more dependent on others than he is himself. LeBron James is more dependent now on the health of Anthony Davis and if Dennis Schroeder can play, or if Kyle Kuzma can play, or the bench. He's more dependent on them than he has ever been. And I think at that point, that's how you know LeBron James is a step slower. Not saying he's garbage, but a step slower. And with that, again, I'm looking at the landscape of the league. You have Dame, who's incredible. Bradley Beal is great. I'm not saying that they're all the best players or anything. I'm just saying it's hard for me to see what I'm seeing from these players and say LeBron James is still the best player. Is LeBron James still great? Yes. Is LeBron James still a top 10 player? Yes. But he is not the best player in the world right now, in my opinion. And to me, the fact that we can even have this argument is telling, because I understand the last few years maybe, but there's never really been a solid argument in saying that LeBron James is not the best player in the world. Now you can have that argument. So there's that, man. There's that. Moving forward, congratulations to all the track and field people making the Olympics, man. Black people is dominating the Olympics, man. Shouts out to Sha'Carri Richardson. Shouts out to Christina Clemens, who, by the way, is from Waldorf. She went to Westlake High School, while I went to Thomas Stone High School, and they're rivals. Still, congratulations to you. Shouts out to North Carolina A&T, man. Trevor Stewart, Akeem Sherleaf, Daniel Stokes, and Randolph Ross Jr. All of them qualified for the Olympics. Man, look, they are doing their thing. Black people are showing out in track and field right now. And now they've been doing it for a while, don't get me wrong. And I think that, I don't know why it's taking so long to really catch on, but black people have been dominating the Olympics for a minute. You got track and field, of course, Team USA. In basketball, Simone Biles is probably one of the greatest Olympians we've ever seen. Yes, Simone Biles is one of the greatest, if not the greatest Olympian we've ever seen, and gymnast we've ever seen. Don't forget about Gabby Douglas. Black people have been dominating the Olympics for a minute. So, but shouts out to all the black people that's dominating track and field. Shouts out to y'all, man. And lastly, before we go, Raiders defensive end Carl Nassib came out as gay. becoming the first openly gay player in the NFL. Now, the only reason why this is news is because people are nosy. And people have an innate need to be in other people's business. This shouldn't be news, bro. I don't care about this. Nobody should care about this but Caleb. But the thing is, or Carl, I'm sorry. But the thing is, again, people are so worried about other people's business that this is news. Look, I don't care what people, how people identify themselves, because it has nothing to do with me. I don't care if you're what sex you are, who you like. I don't care. Like, and I'm not saying I don't care to be like to negate anybody's feelings. What I'm saying is it doesn't matter how I feel about Carl Nassib, because it has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with any of you guys but him, or but anybody that comes out as gay or whatever, however they identify. It has nothing to do with us. People have to understand that everyone in the world has different lives, and your life has nothing to do with my life. Now, yeah, I can support you and I can, champion you, but it has nothing to do with me. And the only reason why this is breaking news is because people have a hard time understanding the fact that it doesn't matter what you think all the time. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that James in Nebraska has a problem with this. Who the hell is James in Nebraska? Hey, man, shouts out to you, Carl Nassib. I'm probably saying your name wrong. My fault, bro. But Carl, this shouldn't be news. People should understand I can't tell another person how to live their life. It even goes to the abortion thing. How the hell are you going to tell a woman how to control her body? It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't matter what I feel about this. It doesn't matter at all. Hey, shouts out if Carl Nassib feel like he needed to come out. Congratulations to you, bro. That shouldn't negate the fact that he's still a good football player. And hey, keep doing what you're doing, keep moving. But again, it shouldn't. One day that this is not going to be breaking news, because we're going to understand that people's lives have nothing to do with us. And Carl Nassib coming out gay does not have anything. It's not going to change how I live my life. It's not going to change what I do in the next 4, 5, 6 hours. Like, it doesn't matter to me. Now it matters to him, and shouts out to him. But it's not going to be breaking news because, like, what? I mean, let me say, one day this ain't going to be breaking news because, like, it doesn't matter. And I'm not saying it doesn't matter a sense of being passive or like who cares if you. No, I'm saying it doesn't matter is let people live their lives the way that they want to live their lives. To stop judging people for living their lives. It's their life. You have your life. You live your life the way that you want to live your life. Let people live their life the way they want to live their life, and not feel like they have to justify for people that don't matter. And there you have it. That has been today's episode of the Unpopular Podcast. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. If you want an Unpopular Podcast shirt, hoodie, sweatshirt, long sleeve, joggers, the link is in the description below. Hey man, go get you go get you some Unpopular Podcast merch today. Again, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. It definitely would mean a lot to me. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. I got a ways to go, but hey, we're going to take this journey together. So I appreciate you guys. And until next time, much love.